What is motivational interviewing?
So motivational interviewing, in my opinion, is the best evidence-based technique to elicit behavioral change. So we usually use this in things like addiction psychiatry to help people get off of alcohol, but you can actually do it to yourself as well. So there are 3 or 4 basic steps, which I think are super important. The first is recognizing that most of the reason why you're not motivated is not a lack of motivation, but it's conflicting motivations. So today you feel like doing it, tomorrow you feel like not doing it. So the way to resolve that conflict is by using 2 particular techniques. One is open-ended questions, and the second is reflective listening.
Okay.
So what we want to do is take that internal conflict where one piece wins and then the other one goes dormant. And then the next day they flip around. So we actually want to bring them both to the surface.
Okay.
And as we elevate the conflict to the surface, it starts to weaken and it becomes easier to choose. So the way that we do that is usually by asking open-ended questions.
Okay.
These are non-yes or no questions that are also non-judgmental. So if we're talking about, working with a kid with gaming addiction, it'll be like, what do you like about games? How do you feel about your gaming? So a lot of times when we're trying to change someone's behavior, we add our own direction to it. Don't do that.
Okay, so if you're doing it to yourself, and let's say a common example would be, how do I go and move my body and get to the gym or work out every day, right? If you're trying to elicit that behavior change, how would you ask yourself an open-ended question in the positive? Because you said we're going to do both sides of the conflict.
Yeah, so what makes you want to go to the gym?
Gotcha. So I'd be like, well, why do I want to do this? What do I like about it? What is it that what types of exercise do I like more than others? What piece is hard? Do I go to the hard or just the enjoy? What part of this is hard for me?
Absolutely, right?
Okay.
So we want to bring up that negativity.
Gotcha. Okay.
What makes it hard?
Okay.
And then this is a little bit trickier for doing it yourself, but then the second thing that we want to do is something called reflective listening, where we just repeat back to them what they said. So this is where it sounds kind of confusing, but people will come, let's say I'm working in the emergency room and someone's suicidal and they say, I have no reason to live.
Right.
And that's where we may default to saying, oh yeah, you have lots of reasons to live. You should do this, this, this. That's not medically actually the right thing to say. What we know from lots of studies is it sounds like you're feeling like there's no point to living anymore. Can you tell me more about that? Right? So acknowledge your truths. Like that's a really important part. So if you say it's really hard for me to go to the gym, you can say, yeah, like this is really tough for me. So what we tend to do is we actually invalidate a lot of our reactions to things. And that's when they go dormant. But just because they go dormant doesn't mean that they become inactive.
So when you invalidate, whether it's your or somebody else's objections to things, it's hard. I don't have time. I don't enjoy it. And you're like, yeah, but this, but that. And you offer the rebuttal. What you're saying is that keeps the conflict in place.
100%, right?
Okay.
So if I tell you that I want you to turn left, you're going to want to turn right. That's a basic aspect of human psychology.
Yep.
So what we want to do is actually resolve that conflict by reflecting back. This is how you feel. Wow, it really is hard for me. It's hard for me to go to the gym. So when we look at things like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? So what's the first thing that they say? Hi, my name is Alok and I'm an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink in 32 years. Sounds confusing. Right? But you own that negativity. You own the difficulty. You own that this is going to be hard for me. And the beautiful thing is when you own that hardship, it makes motivation actually way better. The flip side of it is I don't have a problem. This isn't a problem. I don't have a drinking problem. You have a drinking problem. Never going to change.
Right.
So we tend to run away from things that we should be moving towards.
If you want to do this for yourself, because I could see how this technique of open-ended questions, raising up both the positive and the negative experience in someone else, and then active listening and reflecting back and validating exactly what they say and tell me more, or how's that make you feel? Would it be effective if you wanted to try this strategy with yourself, if you were to introduce this almost like a journaling exercise?
Yeah, so the way that I would do that is ask yourself an open-ended question, write down the answer. And I know this sounds kind of weird, but on the left side of the page, write down the answer. And then look at that answer and reword it on the right side.
Okay, so let's do an example of this because I know everybody's going to lean in on this one. You're going to take a piece of paper.
Yep.
You're going to literally draw a line down the center. And let's just use the example of just going to the gym and working out.
Okay.
So what am I writing on the left-hand side of the paper?
Well, I'll ask you a question. What makes it hard for you to go to the gym?
What makes it hard?
Yeah.
I have to confront the fact that I'm out of shape.
Okay.
I feel discouraged by the fact that I have a long way to go. It feels like to.
So write those down.
Okay.
That's all gold.
Oh, gotcha. So it's literally like I feel discouraged by how out of shape I am.
Okay.
I have a long way to go.
Okay.
I walk into a gym and I really don't know what to do.
Okay.
So I'm a little confused. Should I jump on a treadmill? And so I then feel like everybody else knows what to do. I don't see results fast, so I get frustrated. It's a little lonely to do it yourself. Okay, that's plenty.
It's a lot, right?
There's
So
a lot. There's probably a lot more if I did this myself.
It's so interesting. So this is where a lot of people will default to, oh wow, these are problems to fix.
Right.
Maybe I need to find a workout buddy. Don't do that.
Okay.
Now what I want you to do is read what you wrote, and then I know it sounds kind of weird, but write it again in your own words. What do you imagine this person is feeling? What is this person's experience? Write it
Gotcha.
on the
So
right
how
side.
does this make me feel almost? So the first one was I'm discouraged because it makes me realize how out of shape I am. Well, how that makes me feel is disappointed in myself.
Beautiful.
And then I've got a long way to go to feel like I'm in the shape that I'd like to be in. And then that makes me feel very discouraged. And then I don't know, I don't really know what to do when I get to the gym. And it seems like everybody else is like in there. They got their routine. They know exactly what to do. And so this makes me feel a little bit like I don't belong and a little bit like a fraud or an idiot, or like there's something that everybody else knows that I don't. So I feel kind of stupid in this area and embarrassed, I guess I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And then other thing I wrote is that, it's frustrating. Like that the results don't happen immediately. And so I start to feel, again, more frustration. And I guess a sense, if I'm being honest, it feels a little hopeless. Like, why bother? Emotions. And then lonely doing it myself, I'd say, just a little loneliness in doing it.
So now I want you to, can I see that?
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to read this back to you.
Uh-oh.
So disappointed, discouraged, stupid, frustrating, hopeless, lonely. Do you think this is something that you would be motivated to do?
No.
And now we understand why, right? So now it's like, now when you're going to the gym, just recognize, oh my God, like this is what I have to deal with.
Yeah.
And here we are beating ourselves up for not doing this every day.
Wow, it's so true. Like you're hitting yourself with a bat because you think you should feel a different way and you're not even taking the time, or at least I'm not in these areas, or of really excavating a level of compassion and awareness for myself of what's actually going on. I feel this way about writing a book, like being dyslexic and ADHD. I often feel this way when we get like super overwhelmed at work. There's a ton going on. And so as the person who's the CEO, it makes me feel inept. Like I feel these deep emotions a lot, but I'm just like, shove them down, move yourself forward, achieve the next thing. And I can see how taking a minute and just doing this simple exercise. And, it looks like this for those of you on YouTube that are watching this right now, just a little bit of chicken scratch. It goes super deep. And it opened up this door. You talk about the space that people need to be able to step into. Mm-hmm. It opens up this door of going, oh, well, this makes perfect sense, which is a very different experience, Dr. K, of what it's like when you are in conflict with yourself. Absolutely. Because you want to do something, but you don't know why you can't do it. And it's that you have not dropped into the space of compassion and awareness about the conflict being rooted in emotions you're not actually processing.
Absolutely. So all that stuff is floating around in your subconscious and sabotaging your motivation. So let it come up, recognize, hey, like this is actually, like even going once is quite an achievement. Look at what you've overcome.
It's unbelievable if you really think about it. And then the second thing that you talked about is that once you've opened the door and now you recognize, oh, I got to get through all this, but I'm going to choose to do it. When you do it, spend a minute like reflecting on what it felt like.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, once I'm there and I'm actually on the treadmill, I don't feel these things. And so even just experiencing or taking a minute to really reflect on, okay, well, how did that feel and what was it like, and acknowledging that I pushed through it, that helps with the behavioral change.
100%. Right. And then the beautiful thing is that now you know, okay, so, oh, there's that thought again. Oh, I just walked in. I feel ashamed. I feel intimidated. I know that this will end the second I get on the treadmill. Now that I'm off on the treadmill, oh, there's that thought. And you'll notice that these things are just thoughts.
Now, for somebody who's been struggling with something for a really long time, I'm thinking about friends of mine that have been single for a long time and feel very heartbroken over just not being in a long-term committed relationship and imagining all of the swirl of emotion that is there. When you do this and you then just keep focusing on the action, do you see relief from these emotions?
100%. So when you focus on the act, so let's understand, what does the emotion come from? The emotion doesn't come from the action. It comes from the outcome. So right? So as we focus entirely on the action, the emotion disappears.
That's true, because if you take the person who's perennially single and they think about going to a party where they think about being the only person and they think about not meeting somebody and they think about here we go again and they think about the decades that have gone by, right? That creates this swirl.
Absolutely. It's just like you said, once you're on the treadmill, it disappears.
Right.
So the whole problem is that when they're on a date, they're not on a date. They're carrying all of their stuff with them. So they're not experiencing that moment with this person. In their mind, they're thinking about the wasted time. In their mind, they're making comparisons. And so no wonder it's going to be filled with unhappiness, because you can't be there. You're stuck in the past, or you're thinking about the future. You're making comparison. Literally, your brain is not your attention is fractured. And we even know that once your attention is fractured, it's impossible to achieve a flow state. Once you can't feel a flow state, your performance will drop and your enjoyment will drop.
What are we getting wrong about motivation?
So much. The biggest mistake we make with motivation is that we try to increase it. This is what stuckness is. It's a lot of irrelevant movement.
We do use the word, I feel stuck, but you're saying that's actually the wrong word and it's inaccurate.
Yes. It's not that you have no motivation. It's that you have a very powerful motivation to not move.